Oh, there it is, nice and cool. Well, there you go. Homemade throat lozenges. I love the flavor of coffee. There's nothing in this that's going to burn my tongue. Those are good. Make you some. You'll be glad you did. How y'all doing? Pawpaw again. And Lord have mercy, I've been sick for 2 weeks. I mean, oh man, sick. I played Santa Claus until it just wore me plumb out. And I got around a bunch of children, and bless their little hearts, they decided to share whatever bug they had on them with me. Oh God, oh, has I been miserable. And I couldn't lay down. I had to sleep sitting up. I lay down, boom, my head would just get all congested. And of course I had a sore throat and be coughing. And I ended up having some of them Hall's cough drops. And that menthol, I put a cough drop in my mouth and sat there and just try to doze, sit up in the chair, and I'd fall asleep with a cough drop in my mouth. And that menthol burned my tongue. Actually burned my tongue. I mean, red, sore, like it had been exposed to a fire. And oh, miserable. God, you talk about somebody miserable. Got all swollen up. It hurt to eat. This is just terrible. So I got on the internet and I said, I'm going to learn how to make my own throat lozenges that don't have menthol in them. So I get on the internet and I find out that Dr. Oz is saying that one of the ways you can soothe that burnt tongue feeling is a spoonful of sugar. He said, just put sugar in your mouth and hold your tongue up against the roof of your mouth with sugar on it, and it helped make it go away. And it worked. And I said, wow. So I decided to make my own. I don't want to call them cough drops, throat lozenges, whatever. But I got one in my mouth right now. And it is soothing. So stick around and let me show you how to make these. Mine happen to be coffee flavored. Be right back. Okay, hope everybody saw that. That was 2 cups of sugar. It was a half a cup of water. It was 3/4 of a cup of light corn syrup. And it was some instant coffee. And I put about 2 tablespoons, 2 good tablespoons of instant coffee in there, my Nescafe Classico. Now, if you want your lozenges, to help you fall asleep, you don't want the kick of the coffee, you can use decaf. I've got some here somewhere. You use decaffeinated, or you could say, hey, I want mine to be lemon flavored. You could use lemon extract if you wanted to instead of coffee. Or use vanilla, whatever flavor you want. I like coffee. And, but here's the hard part, is being patient enough for this to cook enough, okay? Because what we want is we want this to be super saturated in sugar. If you can imagine these sugar molecules look like a tic tac with the ends cut at an angle. The idea being that what we want is we want these tiny little sugar crystals to become huge crystals. These great big huge sugar crystals. Because we want it to be hard candy. We want it to snap. We want it to break. We don't want it to be soft and chewy. Okay? Because we want this to just melt in our mouth. We don't want it chewy like caramel, where it'll, stick to your teeth and all that. So, what I have to do is I have to cook this long enough, and I've got it over a medium-low heat. Okay? Bring it up temperature slowly because you don't want to burn it. And I'm going to bring it up until it starts simmering boil, just a simmer. Not a rolling boil, because it'll boil right up out of that pot. But I want it to just sit there and just bubble, okay? Now, if you have a candy thermometer, you can try to heat it up to 305 degrees or something like that. But that doesn't always tell you that it's going to work, that it's going to get hard. Because you want this candy to get hard. Nothing's more aggravating than to pour it off in a pan, wait for it to cool, and it doesn't get hard. It just stays soft. So, this batch that you see here, that I've got right here, I actually put this on the pan 3 times. The first 2 times I didn't cook it long enough. I knew what I wanted. I knew what it was supposed to do. But I was listening to somebody else instead of myself, in my experience. Because I was trying to copy somebody else's recipe, how they made hard candy. Well, what you want this candy to do as it's cooking is you want it to do what's called string. You want to be able to stir it up and hold your spoon or fork or whatever up in the air, and that candy to drip off of that fork or spoon. You want it to drip off of there and form a string like a spider web. Okay? So it can't just drip that much and fall off. You want it to string, long strings, meaning that those sugar molecules are all bonded together and are forming a good, long, strong chain. So we'll come back when this stuff is starting to boil. Right now, like I said, I've got it on a medium-low heat, bringing the temperature up slowly. I'll come back, show it to you boiling, and then we'll take it from there, okay? Be right back. While we're waiting on that candy to come to a boil, I want to show you something that you do with this, how to store this. Now, the one thing about trying to make hard candy is you got to have low humidity. If it's really, really humid, it's very, very, very difficult to get your candy to harden, all right? Also, even if it is a low humidity like it is right now, even though it does cook outright, it breaks and it works just like it's supposed to, storing it can become an issue because it can get sticky, it can absorb the humidity out of the air. So one of the things we do is we use confectioner sugar to coat it. So I'm just going to take this stainless steel bowl. I'm gonna put this batch in this bowl. This is the most talking I've done since I got sick. Just now getting better. Okay. So I've got my homemade throat lozenges or hard candy in here. I'm gonna take some confectioner sugar. Those of you in jolly old England call it castor sugar. This is the powdered sugar. And by the way, all my recipes, unless I tell you confectioner sugar, all my recipes are always granulated sugar. When I just say sugar, I just mean simple granulated sugar. And I'm just going to put some of the sugar in there. And all it's for, the only reason it's in there is just to keep the pieces from sticking to one another. That's all it's for. And so got a little bit of powdered sugar on there. It's not going to be sticky. Well, if we do get a little bit of humidity, it's going to absorb that, or that powdered sugar is going to stick to it, and the pieces aren't going to stick to each other. Okay. Well, we're boiling over here. That didn't take long. What we're doing now is this cooking process. What we're trying to do now is cook all the water out of it. Remember, we started with a half a cup of water, plus a little bit of water I used to make my instant coffee dissolve. So this is going to cook until we evaporate all the water out of it. So we'll be back. I'm going to take my cookie sheet, rub it down with butter. Now I have my heat set on low as I can set the eye. And I'm letting this cook off. And the idea is for these sugar molecules to bond together to make long strings, you don't want to be stirring this up. You want to just sit there and cook nice and quietly without getting, violent and stirring it all up. So you want these sugar molecules to start forming a bond. You see how that's hanging on there? That means we're getting closer. So I'm just dipping it straight down and coming up. I'm not stirring it at all. But what's going to happen here in a few minutes is this is going to start stretching out longer and longer and longer. And I'll be able to hold it up to like 2 feet above the pot, and it'll still reach all the way down here to this, okay? So I'm just showing you it's slowly progressing. See, it's starting to try to make a string now. But it's nowhere, it ain't close yet. I mean, it's not real close yet. But all we're waiting for is get that spider web. Now, I don't mean a thick drop like that. I mean a little thin spider web. Alright. Well, I'll come back when we've got it right. Okay, when it starts making that little hairline spider web string, then you know she's getting done. We're going to make a long string. All right. Well, alrighty then. Alright, it's cooled for a few minutes. Actually, it's still kind of hot. So there you have it. Homemade, soothing throat lozenges. Guaranteed not to burn a hole or a red spot on your tongue. Y'all have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Bye.